Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Hymer C404. So we start under the bonnet here. You've got your original sort of Fiat badge just there. The uprated or newer Hymer one is down here. So you can see that the actual gross weight of the vehicle is there, 3.5 tons. So the original chassis itself was rated at 3,650. Air conditioning bits just here telling you how many grams it needs inside there, and your original Fiat paint code, which is 249, which is a standard Fiat white colour. Got the nice Hymer branding at the front just there. So on the left hand side under the bonnet here at the front, we've got your engine coolant, so you can check that when it's cold. Don't open that when it's hot by any means. Just behind that you've got a cap just here covering it, but this is your power steering fluid. Washer fluid sits just behind that. The engine oil you can check and fill up from here, so you can see there, nice clean components inside there, no sort of mayonnaise looking stuff, which is good. There's no water inside there. And your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just here. Brake fluid is over here. Usually this would be here and the brake fluid would be there, but because it's left-hand drive, obviously your brake fluid and the servo, it's got to be on this left-hand side, the near side of the vehicle, rather than the standard right-hand drive way. Well, it doesn't have to be, but this is the way that they do it. So that's what that is there, the brake servo and your brake fluid just there as well. You can see actually the brake fluid is really nice and clean, as you can see in there. So this particular chassis, the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, so your engine battery will be just in front of the driver's seat under the floor in the cab. There's a couple of little screws you need to undo to get it out. So if you want to jump start the vehicle, you've got a positive terminal just under this little cap just here. So positive here, and you've got a negative or an earthing point just here at the front. So usually there would be a little sticker just here saying for jump start only, but I can imagine because they've had to respray it for having the Hymer bit from the factory, they've probably got rid of that sticker there, but it would normally be there. So this is your earthing point for jump starting and your positive. On the near side of the vehicle we've got a couple of bits. So you've got, just open the door up there. You've got your diesel filling point, so you need your ignition key to get that open, and that's your diesel point. And your bonnet release is here. You've also got in the front your electro block bits and pieces. So because it's a Hymer, or in other words just a continental vehicle, you've got what's called an electro block power supply unit. So what a power supply unit, probably quite self-explanatory really, but it basically takes any power that it's given, so from the leisure battery or the hookup, and it splits it off wherever it needs to go inside the vehicle. Because it's a newer vehicle as well, you have also got a bit of a smart kind of split relay system. So when you start the engine up, the power that gets sent from the alternator to the engine battery, which like I said is under here, also gets split off from there through to the leisure battery and the fridge. So I will show you and explain that to you when we get through to the back in a bit. But basically when you start and drive the engine, start and drive the van, sorry, the engine battery and the leisure batteries are both being charged up at the same time. So a lot of your fuses and relays and things like that will be down here underneath this seat in that block there at the back. You can just about see them. Nice and easy to get to, that's why they put them just there under the seat. You've also got electric adjusting mirrors from this little dial here, electric windows. You've got cruise control, which works from this dial just down here. The lights on and off are of this left hand stalk, and your indicators as well obviously. Your OBD reader is just behind this little cover down here, so you just take these two screws out, pull this down, and you'll see that your OBD point is just inside there. So if you ever get any management lights come on or anything like that, obviously let us know and we can help you, but you can have a little look and see what the code is from down there. Well, it's just a nice thing to know where it is, I suppose, really. Your center console doubles up as your reversing camera screen as well. So when you pop the van into reverse, it will come on automatically up on the screen, and you'll be able to see how far you can go back to stuff. So that's a really nice, neat way of doing it, rather than having a separate monitor, which is the only way to do it a lot of the time. But having the doubled in stereo system here and incorporating that into there is a nice way of doing it. So you've got 6-speed manual gearbox, so reverse, lift up on the back here, over and up to the top left. You've also got nearly all of the extras on here. So you've got the air conditioning, direction that switch there, heater controls just here, 1 through to 4. The heated rear window switch will not do anything. It will light up, but it doesn't actually do anything because the original rear window would have been just here. So that's obviously not there anymore. Fog lights and hazards. You can also lock and unlock the cab from inside, which is really helpful if you haven't got the key in your hand. And I think this is all to do with traction control. So if you wanted extra traction, press that button just there. I suppose if it's icy outside, etc. So we carry on the outside of the van. So you've actually got, if I just point this out to you, you've got, this is the spare set, but you've got this key here. So the main set will have an actual fob, electric key. But the one I want to show you really is this key here. So again, I know this is the spares, but it's the same on the other set. This key here essentially does everything that isn't the front doors. So anything motorhome related is this key. So to lock your toilet cassette locker, this key goes in, turn it, take it out, that's locked. Push in, and at the bottom, have to do it at the same time to get that open. So to use the toilet cassette, you just basically, it's so simple, lift up on the little yellow tab, pull the whole thing out. You can then take the entire thing out, and all you need to know really is, well, 2 things. Keep on top of keeping this little rubber seal here lubricated. So if you can get yourself, I always suggest, if you own a motorhome, probably the most important thing, obviously you've got all your fluids and all that sort of stuff, but I think the most important thing really is a can of silicone lubricant. So anywhere, Halfords or anywhere really should sell just plain silicone lubricant. Doesn't have to be expensive stuff, it can be whatever silicone lubricant you want, as long as it's just plain and simple silicone lubricant. So this rubber seal here, keep on top of spraying that up every now and again. It doesn't have to be every time, but every month or so, or every couple of months, just give that a little spray around, and that's it. That's all you have to do. It just stops this flap here from sticking. You can see now it's working perfectly, but you'd be amazed how, if you don't lubricate that, this will not move. You will not be able to get that. So many times I've had to literally get a hammer or a mallet and tap that out because they get so stuck. So keep it on top of that. And also, once you've got the silicone lubricant, all of these rubber seals here around every single one of the lockers, even the actual habitation door, you need to go around that as well. Just a quick little once over, and then you can forget about it. And again, if you don't do that, this one's okay because obviously it's quite a new vehicle. But if this was left for a couple of years without being done, you would not be able to move that. It would just be rock hard. And that's when you start getting leaks around into your cupboards and things like that. Same goes for the windows actually. When you open up the windows, you'll notice there's a rubber seal inside there. So if you ever get a leak from a window somewhere, 9 times out of 10, it's just because that rubber, so essentially this, has gone hard and doesn't stop the water coming in anymore. So just literally a can of silicone lubricant will be your best friend really when you're doing all this sort of stuff. When you're emptying this out from here, you need to hold down that little yellow button there at the back, and then once you've emptied it out, some blue fluid goes inside here, swish it around and put it back. So that is that. So I'll just lock that up again so that I don't forget, which I probably will. So that's locked. So this little vent just here is for your boiler. So I will show you how the boiler works in a minute when we get inside, but when you have the boiler lit up on gas, you can put your hand underneath here and just make sure that there's some hot air coming out, and then that just tells you that it's definitely working. When it is on, I know this is a bad example because it's already, it's already wet down the sides because of the ice on the top, but when it's on, you'll find that between these two little black marks, you will get some condensation building up and it will drip down. That's completely normal and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just literally because it's so hot, blowing out. So in summer, you shouldn't get that really. Well, you will a little bit, but not very much. But in the winter, when you're using this, it will just be pouring out because, the condensation pumping out from the hot air. It's just what happens. Down here underneath, we've got your wastewater drain off point. So this little bar here with the square on the end. Inside the van, sorry about the noise, 1 second. Just going past. So inside the van somewhere, there should be a little handle that just slots on the end of that and allows you to turn it. So literally you just put it on there, turn it 90 degrees, and then your wastewater will come out from that pipe just there that you can see. So that's where the wastewater drain off is. At the back here, obviously, as you know, the back door completely opens up, which is a really nice, unique feature of the van. There is only one other brand that I know that does it, which is Swift. They do a Swift Rio, but again, like I said, I've never seen it apart from that one that we had. So a really nice, rare conversion. Obviously, being Hymer, it's pretty much the best of the best anyway. So your freshwater filling point is this one just here. I know the little sign above it is obviously gone a little bit faded now, so you can't really see it, but this is your fresh water at the back, not to be confused with the diesel at the front on the near side. So you can open that up nice and easily. To lock this up, push it in and round to the right until it stops, and then again, same key, in there and turn it, and that's it. So now that will just spin round. Okay. The next one is your hookup point. So if you had access to a hookup cable, it's really, really important to put that in. If you don't have, if you're going to go camping for a week and you don't have hookup, that's fine. But, you will find in a minute when I show you how to do this, you will find your leisure battery will struggle if you're using things all week without giving it some way of charging back up again, which is what the hookup does. So really you'd have to start the engine up for a while, let it all charge up again. But yeah, so if you have access to a hookup cable, it really does help. Just keep everything topped up and so that you don't have to worry about the battery voltage too much. But that's that. These two vents just here are for your fridge. So if you've got the fridge lit up on gas, which I do at the moment, you can feel hot air coming out through this very last portion of the top vent on the right. So like I said, I can feel warm air coming out of there. It's not really, really hot, but just warm air, just showing me that the flame is definitely on and it's working. At the bottom here, if you take these covers off, the bottom one just gets you to the flame and the bits and pieces down there, but you shouldn't ever really need to do that. It's just there if we ever need to, really. You've got your HEO-safe locks on here as well, so I think... Or was I making that up? Okay, no, I was making that up. So, on the habitation door, I'll just show you, you've got this one normal lock, which is what the van would have come with originally. So that's not going to come open, but if you want to, an extra bit of safety, you can turn that, and that basically puts that lock all the way across there. And if I've used it properly, even though this lock's now unlocked, it's not going to come open. All right, so until I just shut the door again and open that up, there you go. So basically what was happening there was this, like that, and so that creates a really, really strong lock. You can obviously do that from inside as well. If you're inside and you just want to lock it up for the night, pop that across, and that just stops you having to worry anymore about the locks. So that's what that's for, if you were wondering. I think I mentioned that over the phone, but that's how that works. So straight away, before I forget, I'm going to show you this little seat here as well, which again, I don't know if you've seen this already, but When you lift this out, it comes all the way up and folds over, giving you an entire seat just there. So when the door's open or shut, you can use that. And that's just really nice and easy. Pop that away like that. So that's what that's for there. The step comes in and out really, really well, just like that from that button there. And you've got various light switches here. So above the door, as soon as you walk in, you've got your main control panel. So you can see at the moment, I've got the little yellow light there on, which basically tells me that the 12 volt, so the leisure battery, is sending power to anything that normally gets sent power. All right. So I can just basically turn it on and off from here. So turning it on is that one, off is that one, and you'll know when the light goes out. If the hookup was plugged in, you would also have a light up here telling you that the hookup's plugged in and that it's working and it's switched on. Okay, so that's what those two lights are for. If I look at this scale just here, so this is obviously a picture of a motorhome. The front switch here is going to tell us the engine battery voltage. So if I look at the top scale on this just here, so 10 to 15, I'll press this one and then we'll see the engine battery voltage. So let's do that. So 12 and a quarter, so 12.2, 12.3, that's perfect. And you can see there's little red marks telling you when you should worry about it. The next one is the leisure battery. So that should be a little bit higher, but not much because there's no hookup plugged in. If there was a hookup cable plugged into the van, I'd expect that to be about sort of 14 or maybe even 14 and a half. Okay, but let's have a look. So 12 and a half. So that's perfect as well. So 12.4. You should only really worry about a battery or a leisure battery anyway when it gets to around sort of 10. Anything sort of 11 and above is absolutely fine. It will recharge. But when you start getting to about 10, sometimes these normal sort of leisure batteries can struggle to recharge again. It's only when you start buying, you know, all these sort of posh lithium ones that, which are, you know, they're really, really good and they last a lot longer. But it's only when you buy the lithium ones that you don't have to worry about it going below 10 so much. It's still not good for it, but, you know, they're the only ones that you don't have to worry about it, really. So that's your two battery levels there. You've also got a fresh and waste water level checker. So then we're looking at the bottom scale. If I press the top one there, that should be your fresh water level. So that's empty. And wastewater should be empty as well. So if there was half a tank of fresh water, when I press this button, this would go up to the middle. And the last one is your water pump isolator. So your on and off switch for your water pump is on at the moment. I'll just explain what pump you've got in here. So when you turn that water pump switch on, the pump won't actually come on. So a lot of motorhomes work on a inline pump, which basically means that when you turn the pump switch on, the pump will pressurize until it gets to pressure and only then will it turn off. Whereas this one, because you've got a submersible pump, so a pump that physically sits inside the water tank, what happens is when you turn that pump switch on, all it does is send power to the pump, but the only way the pump actually comes on is when you lift a tap. So inside here is what's called a micro switch, and in fact every water thing in the van, so even the toilet flush as well, actually every single one will have a micro switch inside it. So that means that the pump will not do anything until so you can hear that, can't you? You hear the pump going, and you can also hear the little click. So the big pro to having a submersible pump like this one is that you don't really get loads of pressure around the vehicle all the time. So 9 times out of 10, if you're going to have a van that's leaking water out from somewhere, it'll be one with a submersible, with an inline pump. Sorry, that's not to say that you can't get leaks with a submersible pump. Obviously, you know, you can get leaks from anywhere, but usually because there's not so much pressure everywhere, it's not these ones that do. So that's what that is. So when you're not using the pump, it is always good practice just to turn it off anyway, although like I said, it won't actually do anything until you turn the pump on, but the tap on, sorry. 2-burner hob just here, and to be fair, this is the only sort of cooking appliance in the van. It is the smallest motorhome, or the smallest coach built motorhome that Hymer make, and you know, to have a cooker in here would be a bit of a feat. I don't know where you would put it. You couldn't put one down here because that's where the leisure battery is. You couldn't put one down here, so it's all, you know, that's the reason why there isn't one there. Otherwise there would be. In this cupboard just here, it's quite important, you've got your gas isolator taps. So the top one there is for the 2-burner hob, the middle one's for the fridge, and the bottom one's for the boiler. So if you wanted to isolate the gas from any of those things specifically, you can do that from there just by turning it 90 degrees. You don't need to turn those off every time you leave the vehicle. Turning the gas off from the bottle, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, is plenty. You don't have to worry about doing it every time. Okay, the fridge, I'll just get myself in here. So the fridge is really simple. You've got 3 ways of using the fridge. So that's mains electric, so when you're on hookup, gas, and 12 volt. So at the moment I'm lit up on gas because I haven't got a hookup plugged in. The engine isn't running, which is the way that you use this one, but I do have a gas switched on, so I can use it on gas. So if I just turn it off for the minute, just so I can show you it all working from scratch. So now the flame's gone out at the back, the fridge is completely off. Okay, so if I came to the fridge and I hadn't already had it on and I was going to go on holiday tomorrow, I might come to the fridge the night before, switch the gas on, or put a hookup cable in, turn the fridge on. It will automatically try and choose one of them, so it's automatically chosen gas because that was the last one that I used. But if I had the hookup plugged in, I would double tap that one there. It will throw up a little fault code in a second because there's no hookup plugged in. There you go. So that's what will happen if you try and put the fridge on something that you can't use it. So it should happen again if I choose that one. There you go. Fault code. So the only way I can use it is the gas. All right, it will light up on its own. You haven't got to do anything to light it up. And that's it. So the only way I can use it is the gas. So I'm having to use gas. The only 2 ways to get the fridge cold by themselves are either the gas or the mains. So if you have a mains cable plugged in, you can use that one. Those 2 get the fridge cold at about the same rate. You can imagine perhaps 3-4 hours for this fridge to get completely cold with all your stuff inside. So like I said, if you're going to go away on holiday tomorrow morning, I would advise put it on mains electric or gas the night before you go, and then by the morning when you come out here, it'll be perfectly cold. When you start the engine up and go to drive, all you have to do is switch over to this one here, and then basically that just, you know, like I was saying about earlier about the split relay and how there's power being sent to the leisure battery and the fridge when you're driving. When you start the engine up, you can switch over to this one here and it will keep the fridge cold. All right, so that's how you use the fridge. I'll turn that off. What we got down here? Oh, okay, so this is your step to get up to the bed. So you can use that as a step to get up onto the bed and storage as well. It is a little bit stiff because it has to be really strong for you to be able to stand on it. Okay. In the wardrobe just here. Whoop, that was scary. Almost knocked myself out with that. I'm glad it happened to me. Right, so in the wardrobe you've got your awning winder. So that goes in the slot on the awning in order for you to open it up. You've also got some what looks like divider curtains, which not 100% where they go, but I'm sure there'll be some poppers around here somewhere for that. Absolutely tons of paperwork about all the appliances in the vehicle and all of the original Hymer paperwork, like I said about. So that's all in there. Obviously that is all in German, but you know, it's all there. It's all there if you want to have a look through it and have a good read through. I'm going to put this somewhere else because I don't want it hitting anybody else. Not that it actually hit me, but it was close. I'm going to put that here for the minute. Okay, so in the bathroom, don't worry about the mess on the floor. That's not going to be there when you pick the vehicle up. Like I said, all the taps work on a micro switch, so you've got the same there in the one for the shower. You can put the shower one down here in order to use it as the sink tap as well, which is why there is the other one there, just in case you're wondering why there's a random shower point there. It's not just for children, it's so you can use it there for the sink. The toilet is really simple the way it works. You've basically got a flush handle over there on the left, so essentially you flush it from there and you actually use the flush system by pressing the blue button just there. All right, so flush there, drain out from there. You need to make sure when you have gone to the toilet and you drained it out, you need to make sure that you close the flap back over again before you leave it. 2 reasons: if you don't do that, you'll get all the smell coming back into the vehicle, and also you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside, because when it's in the open position, it's locked. If you want to use the shower, obviously this goes all the way around to there, and you've got your shower curtain. So it's all there. It's all obviously working as it should. The full habitation check went through with flying colours. Nothing to sort of be concerned about whatsoever. Okay, so assuming you've turned your gas on, and also assuming something else, I'll just run you through this first, actually. So before you use the boiler to heat the water up, the heating way that I'll show you in a minute is fine, but if you want to heat the water up, the first thing you need to do, so for example, this is a good example actually, because I haven't actually got any water in the tank, I can pretty much guarantee that there's not going to be any water in the boiler either. So I shouldn't, or definitely shouldn't, be trying to light the boiler up on gas to get hot water. Because if you imagine, if you had a kettle and it was completely empty of water, but you switched it on, you know, it's gonna overheat. Something's gonna go wrong because it's not actually heating anything up, but it's trying to. So the first thing you need to do before you start trying to heat the water up in the boiler is make sure that you put your pump on. Again, assuming you've got some water in the tank, put your pump on and just pull the tap here over to the left-hand side and lift it up until the water starts coming through the tap on the hot side nice and clearly. There isn't enough water in the boiler to use it. Okay, so basically it will cough and splutter for a few seconds or maybe even a minute, and then once it starts coming through, you can switch it off and then go through and use your boiler. So that's how you kind of go through the process of sort of making sure the boiler's got enough water in it, etc. Just thinking about it, the boiler vent is over here, so the boiler itself must be under here. I probably should have done this before I started the video. It's a bit silly really, but okay, so where's the boiler drain? Let me get this all out of the way so I can actually get in there. So under here. Sorry about this. Okay, right, perfect. So the boiler itself is this great big thing here. So these are one of the most quiet boilers you'll find. In comparison to their older versions, they're still, you know, they've always been very reliable, but these are a lot quieter and sort of nicer to use. So there's only 2 things you need to keep on top of with the boiler, and it's these 2 things just here. So if you want to drain the boiler out of all of its water, you would do lifting this up like that, and that will drain out any water that's in this pipe here straight onto the floor. And also this one just here is actually in its open position now, so this boiler is absolutely empty. But to close that back off again, turn that there and press. Okay, so turn that there so that little bit goes inside and press the blue button in, whichever way you'll do it. Okay, so when there's actually some water going to it, that will actually hold in. But basically, to drain it out, lift that one up like this. I'm going to leave it closed now, and then turn that. Okay, when you turn that, what happens is the water that's actually inside the boiler itself rather than in the pipe will drain straight out onto the ground. So that's how you drain that out. If you find that when you're starting to refill it, that the water's just coming out underneath the vehicle, you need to come in here and have a double check that you've left it in this position. If it's not coming out underneath, fine, just keep filling it up until the water comes through the tap. Okay, so that will. I'll put these bits back in just a minute so I don't have to do it on the video and waste any more of your time. Okay, so the way to actually use the boiler. So you've got this little dial here that says Truma Combi. It's not a combi in the sense of a combi at home. It's not like you get instant hot water or anything like that. So if I turn this dial here, so the inside part is basically just a temperature sensor telling you, you know, if you're in a real hurry for everything, just turn it right up. If not, leave it where it is. So if I wanted hot water only, and like I said, making sure that you've made sure that the boiler is actually full, which it's not at the moment. If you wanted hot water only, you'd go up 1 to 40 degrees or up 2 to 60. Okay, so that's hot water only. At the moment, like I said, I can't use it because the boiler's not full of water. In fact, it's got no water in it. If I want heating only, I go down 1 to the sign there that's literally just a little flame symbol. And what will happen is the flame inside the boiler will light up, and then any of the little circular vents that are dotted around the vehicle, so like that one there, any of them, and in fact any pipes that are dotted around anywhere at all, will start having heating pumped around to it from the fan. Okay, so literally 1 down, it will just light up, and that's it. It will do its thing. The next one down is your heating and hot water at 60 degrees. So if you wanted heating and hot water at the same time, you go all the way down to the bottom. So for the minute, I'm going to turn that off because I don't actually need it on. And that's how you use your boiler. So it's really nice and simple, and like I said, very, very reliable. The last 2 things I want to show you, one of them is in here, which is your leisure battery. So this looks like a new battery to me. It might not be, but it looks like a pretty new one. So it is quite simple. So you've literally just got negative, positive. You have got space next to it for another one. If you did want to run them in line, you can do that if you want to. But yeah, it's just literally there. There is normally this cover just here going in. It was just like that. Somewhere, oh, there's a bit that's just fallen out down there. Okay, so I'll put that back in properly in a minute. But that's just basically your leisure battery locker there. And the last bit is your gas locker. So the gas should be switched off before you start driving. The gas should be switched off every single time. It's not like a, you know, sometimes do it. It should be every time. So to turn the gas bottle off, go clockwise around to the right, all the way, and that's the gas off. So that's all you have to do before you start driving. It does tell you here, but before you start driving, turn that off. The last thing you want, if you're in a crash, obviously, you know, we don't want that to happen, but if you did have a crash, the last thing you want is 30 millibars, well, actually more than that, about sort of 37 millibar of propane gas pumping out from some broken pipe somewhere. And trust me, that is a lot of gas. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. So, you know, that's the last thing you want. And if you just turn this gas bottle off, there won't be any. You know, if you crash and something breaks, this here is the thing that supplies everything with its gas. Okay, so if this is off, everything's off. So turn that off before you start driving. Other than that, keep your eye on the date of this pigtail here. You've got 5 years on these. It looks like a new one, to be honest. The date's just underneath that little sticker. But yeah, keep your eye on that. You've got 5 years on those. So I think that's about it. I've tried to be sort of quite thorough with everything. I know that you're going to be happy with the van because it is, you know, like I said, it passed with flying colours. You know, everything's in good nick. It's been looked after really well. So yeah, if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going through again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.